Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Filbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Filbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Filbar.
Welcome to session Fartook-114. Previously on the Bard's podcast, the party reached Haddonfield and discovered that transport to Phoenix could be obtained, but not for 2 days. With their lives ready to change, the group sold off their mounts, which garnered a dinner invitation for Lady Irena. When the party went to find lodging, it was Bolger's turn to find a love interest. We rejoined the party with everyone obtaining lodging and the group searching for dinner arrangements. "I would like to join you," stated Lady Irena. "However, I did promise Elon that I would dine with him this evening. My apologies." The others waved it off, stating that they understood completely and they would catch up with her later. "I, too think I shall pass on the kind invitation. I am not quite feeling myself," said Bolger, the former sailor. The group looked at him and let him continue to stammer out excuses before bursting into laughter, causing him to flush red. Catching on to the fact that they all knew why he was begging off, he waved his hands in the air at the trio and said, "Oh, to hell with you," as he nimbly skipped back towards the knight's armor, where he had already arranged a date with the innkeeper. Cabe, Sister Elaine, and Fargus looked at each other and opted to wander the town until they located something of interest. For nearly half an hour, the trio took in the sights of Haddonfield, including a closer look at the unusual lighthouse. An older mason spotted their interest and fired up a conversation with them. The group learned that this lighthouse was built on the foundation of the old one that had burnt down. Cabe inquired what made the townspeople think that it wouldn't happen again. The man, who introduced himself as Tabor, explained that the new construction was built on the oil pipeline that feeds off a reservoir in the bay. A feed system with a shut-off valve was present at the dockmaster's building. It had been tested completely and there were no more accidents to be had, he assured the adventurers. Circling the docks, the ensemble located an eatery called the Pelican's Pit. The smell of fresh fish emanated from within and beckoned each to enter. The dinner crowd was already lining the interior and mixed in nicely with several sailors from parts unknown. The three found a small table and were met by a young woman who explained the menu and took their orders. During the meal, each of the three discussed how it would be nice to live in a city like this. Sister Elaine learned that a church to Dilo was present and obtained directions to go see the minister. Cabe and Fargus were fascinated at the conversations that were being overheard and remarked at the vast number of accents present in this building alone. In a hushed tone, Fargus pointed out that he believed there might be people from all over the continent here. With a hearty meal consumed, the trio felt that it would be time for them to go their separate ways. Fargus pointed out he had noticed a tavern next to the inn, and he wanted to investigate. Sister Elaine wanted to check in at the church, but Cabe stated he enjoyed the wine that the establishment offered and thought he would relax at this location. The three members each bid the other good night and left. The waitress came over to check on Cabe, who had requested a bottle of wine to enjoy outside. A short time later, the woman returned and the bard asked if she would prefer gems or coins. She asked for coin and was promptly given twice the amount that she had asked for. A sailor nearby overheard the conversation and inquired as to where the half-elf had gotten his gems from. Cabe gave a stirring rendition of the party saving the merchants from the bugbears, which fascinated the man. As the recitation progressed, more and more citizens began to pay attention, which only helped the grandstanding of the colorful bard. As he completed the account, the crowd erupted in clapping and cheering. The owner of the establishment sent over another flagon of wine to him as a courtesy and asked if he had any other stories. "Well, I don't like to brag, but I could give you all a yarn that won me Best Performer at Nako Keep a few days ago, if anyone wants to hear that story." The crowd erupted and listened alertly as Cabe rehashed the events that had won him the accolades during the talent show, but added names of his companions this time. The audience was wrapped around his finger, and he knew it. As he finished up the story, he bowed with a large flourish. The guests of the Pelican's Pit tossed coins at his feet in appreciation, and he waved in gratitude. The business owner began to shoo everyone out as it was time to leave and close up shop for the night. Cabe gathered up the coins, but then he thought for a moment. He took the coins over to the bar where he deposited them. Dividing the money in half, the bard pushed the other half to the bartender and waitress and thanked them for allowing him to perform at their meal service. The pair were overjoyed that they had live entertainment from a first-class bard and attempted to decline the money, but he would not hear of it. Waving as he left, the pair thanked him again. At the door, Cabe was greeted by the initial sailor that had requested the story. Accolades were dumped on the tipsy bard, and another tale was requested by the avid fan. Cabe attempted to wave off the request, but the man was rather insistent. As the bard pushed past the man, the sailor asked him if he could request one more question, which caused Silvertongue to stop. "You must be pretty strong to have fought so many creatures. Can you show me your arms?" remarked the sailor. Shrugging his shoulders, Cabe cocked his arm, showing an arm muscle. A low whistle escaped the sailor's lips, and a broad smile followed. "I bet you can row like the dickens." Cabe was confused and asked what he meant by row. As the words escaped his lip, a wooden rod collided with the bard's head, knocking him to the dock and spilling the flagon. The unconscious half-elf fell roughly to the wooden planks, and the man that hit him gave a toothy grin and spoke with a compatriot. "I don't know, Zeke. He doesn't seem that tough." The initial sailor smiled and pointed out that the salt air would toughen him up all right. "Let's get him on board, and we'll leave at noon with the tides." A pair of sailors tossed a bag over Cabe's head and carried him to a ship moored at the dock called the Folly, and went below deck with the wounded bard.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Filbar, thanks for listening.